couple of years ago, I talked to Patsy and she said, I really admire people that do what you do. I just don't know that I could do that. But I sure cheer you on from the sidelines. Said, yes, I'll be happy to take a yard sign. And with that in mind, I was rather surprised when she was interested in running for the 102nd. And when I found out and talked to her about it, after my jaw actually hit the floor, I think, I was thrilled because I think a lot of Patsy worked really closely with her in this campaign, could not be prouder of her, the way she's conducted herself, and I know we're proud to endorse Patsy Terrell for District 102.
Thank you so much. I will confess that indeed Steve was not the only one whose jaw dropped very far. Betty Taylor is nodding her head. I think many people were surprised. Essentially, I got fed up, and I reached a point of being fed up that I decided to do something drastic and run for office. I want to say thank you to the Mod Squad, not only for the endorsement, which I greatly appreciate, but also for the work that you've done over the last 2 years. It's much more fun to be doing this work when there's an election and when you've had success with candidates in the primary, but I know that a lot of it is just slogging through hard work, and I appreciate those of you who've really dedicated yourselves to that. I'm also really honored to be on a panel with these gentlemen. Dr. Berger and Representative Becker are both people I've known for a long time, and they're both wonderful, wonderful men, and I am thrilled that it looks like both of them will be returning and going to Topeka, and I hope that I'm able to join them there as well. I have lived in the 102nd for more than 30 years now. And I know my neighbors, I know my neighborhood, and I like it. It was the part of town I wanted to buy a house in. I'm thrilled to live there. I am not a career politician, and I am not looking to be one, not at all. But our government was never designed for career politicians. It was designed to be of the people, by the people, and for the people. And I am just one of the people, but I'm one of the people who cares about my neighbors. You know, in the 102nd, we are not the richest part of town, as we all know. And we often have people coming in and telling us what we should think and how we should feel, and certainly how we should vote every couple of years. People who don't live in our district. Well, people in our district have figured out that we are bearing the brunt of a lot of the policies coming out of Topeka. And I think people are fed up. I certainly hope they are fed up. I know I am fed up, which is why I suddenly find myself running for office, which never in a million years did I think would happen. So I guess interesting times, as the old saying goes. I would like to see us move in new directions, and certainly there isn't much that either of these guys have said that I wouldn't agree with, to quote Betty Taylor from the debate the other night. But I think we have got to repeal the tax cuts. They've both talked quite a bit about that. That is an essential. I run a small business. I'm one of the people that's benefiting from this. And from the moment that it started, I knew it was ridiculous. It cannot possibly work. It makes absolutely no sense. And we've now missed revenue projections for 31 of the last 44 months. That should tell you it's not working well. And unfortunately, we have a governor and a lot of allies in the legislature who just want to go full steam ahead. So I think we've got to address that. We've got to get our fiscal house in order, and that's where we begin. Secondly, I think we need to invest in education. If there's one thing, Ed mentioned it, we certainly have to have an educated workforce. That's one of the first things a business wants to know that they're going to have, is an educated workforce to pull from. And so I think that would do a tremendous amount of good for our economy. And I think that we need to invest in education from pre-K all the way through college. It is also the great equalizer. It can pull people out of poverty, and it can give people opportunities that they simply wouldn't have otherwise. If you run a business, you want customers who can afford to buy your goods and services, and that's one of the ways to create that environment. We have got to have Medicaid expansion. We've lost $1.4 billion now. That's with a B, as in boy, billion dollars. And the only reason we've lost it is that our governor has said no to it. We are one of the very few states that has not taken Medicaid expansion, and it is costing us money. It's costing lives. We are letting people suffer and die to make a political point. And from a fiscal standpoint, it would help our hospital tremendously, it would help our nursing homes, and it would be good for Kansas. It's also a job creator. Healthcare is one of the biggest expanding industries in the nation, and certainly Kansas is no exception. So we have to do that. It's the only thing that makes any sense. We essentially are we're spending the money anyway, and we're saying, oh, no, please, 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 we don't want it back. You keep it. We don't want it. We want it. We need to expand Medicaid. Fourth, roads and bridges. There have been so many sweeps of funding from KDOT that our roads and bridges are beginning to suffer. And yes, that has always happened, but never at the rate that it has happened in the last few years. Last year, about $1 million a day transferred from KDOT into the state general fund. That's a lot. That is a whole lot. And we are at the point now where roads and bridges are beginning to suffer. If you want to encourage business, we have got to have good roads and bridges. People have to be able to move goods. Certainly in Hutchinson, we have a wind energy company that needs good roads and bridges to move their product. And the rest of us like to drive on good roads and bridges too, at least I do. So I think that's an important thing. It's also a job creator. We saw the effect of those votes in Reno County. We lost a $47 million road project because of those votes sweeping funds from KDOT. Another issue I'm particularly concerned about is judicial independence. And the reason is that why we have the system now of having a nominating committee suggest 3 potentials and the governor chooses from them is that a former judge abused their power with regard to the courts. You can Google for Kansas triple play and get all the gory details if you want. But I think we need to keep that system in place. We don't want any governor, this isn't just about Governor Brownback, we don't want any governor being able to politicize the courts. We want to keep those free of politics. We are at the point now in the election season where we're seeing across the state candidates trying to distance themselves from their voting record. And I would encourage all of you to pay attention, to do a quick Google search to find out if what people say is really true. We're seeing it not just locally, but all across the state. And I certainly hope that that indicates that we're going to have a different environment come January. But you will forgive my skepticism that people have not acted in that way and suddenly are telling us that they're going to. My opponent has been in office for 25 years. She has had a hand in creating the situation that we have today. She even changed political parties 2 years ago to more closely align with Governor Brownback. And I don't think that is the right direction for us. I think we need to move away from the failed experiment into a brighter future. And I'm hoping to be one of the people that helps make that happen. Thank you.
Steve Snook, Treasurer.